Ladies and gentlemen, let me say something that might unsettle you, but it will set you free. We live in a time where softness has become an epidemic. Not softness in kindness or compassion, those are virtues, but softness in conviction, in boundaries, in self-respect. We've confused being kind with being a pushover, and that confusion is costing us our integrity, our purpose, and our destiny. When you're too soft to say no, you lose control of your time. When you're too soft to enforce your values, you allow others to write the script for your life. And when you're too soft to demand respect, you invite disrespect into your space. This is not humility, it's self-neglect. The world doesn't honor softness in principle, it preys on it. People will take as much as you let them. And if you're afraid to stand firm, afraid to say, this is where I draw the line, you will always be at the mercy of other people's desires and demands. Greatness demands firmness. It demands that you stand for something even when it's uncomfortable. Stop worrying about offending everyone and start worrying about betraying yourself. The world does not reward those who bend over backward for approval. It rewards those who stand upright in their purpose. Let me tell you something, every yes you give out of fear or guilt is a no to something more important. Every time you soften your stance to avoid conflict, you harden the path toward your own fulfillment. Life is not about pleasing everyone, it's about staying true to the vision planted inside of you. Stop being soft when it comes to your dreams. Stop being soft when it comes to your standards. The people who matter will respect your firmness, and the ones who don't were never meant to journey with you anyway. Firmness is not cruelty. It's clarity. It's knowing who you are, what you stand for, and what you refuse to tolerate. The world doesn't need more people who are easy to manipulate. It needs more people who are unshakable, unmovable, and unapologetically true to themselves. The question is not, how can I make everyone happy? The question is, how can I live in such a way that my life becomes a beacon of strength, purpose, and truth? If you want to live a life that matters, you cannot afford to be soft on the things that define you. Let these words provoke thought and stir conviction. Kindness is a powerful force. It's the language of the heart, the bridge that connects us to one another. It reflects strength, generosity, and grace. But let us not confuse kindness with softness. Kindness stands tall, softness often falls under pressure. Softness in conviction, softness in setting boundaries, softness in defending your values, that is not kindness. That is a compromise that chips away at your dignity. Being soft in these areas is not love for others, it's neglect of yourself. When you allow softness to replace firmness, you begin to blur the lines between compassion and self-sacrifice. You let others dictate the terms of your life, not because they deserve it, but because you're too afraid of confrontation. That's not kindness, it's avoidance. True kindness doesn't require you to diminish yourself. It doesn't ask you to bend over backward for every demand. Kindness has limits. It knows when to give and when to stand its ground. But softness, unchecked, becomes a permission slip for people to take advantage of you. If you think you're being kind by saying yes when your heart says no, think again. That's not kindness, it's a lack of courage. And if you let softness rule your interactions, you'll find yourself drained, disrespected, and far from the person you were created to be. Saying no is one of the most powerful acts of self-preservation you will ever master. It is a shield that protects your time, your energy, and your purpose. Yet so many of us are afraid of it, afraid of the discomfort it might cause, afraid of the disapproval it might invite. But let me tell you, every time you fail to say no when you should, you're giving away something precious, control over your own life. When you say yes out of guilt, fear, or obligation, you're not being noble, you're surrendering to manipulation. And manipulation doesn't always come with malice, it can be subtle, wrapped in the expectations of others, cloaked in the guise of duty. But regardless of its form, it robs you of the ability to prioritize what truly matters. Your time is not infinite. Your energy is not endless. Every moment you spend doing something out of alignment with your purpose is a moment you can never get back. And every misplaced yes creates a chain reaction, pulling you further and further from the life you were meant to live. Saying no is not selfish, it is strategic. It is a declaration that your priorities, your vision, and your well-being are not negotiable. It's recognizing that every commitment you make has a cost and being intentional about what you're willing to pay. Remember, you're not here to be everything to everyone. You are here to fulfill a specific purpose, and that purpose requires focus, clarity, and the courage to say no when necessary. The world is not a neutral ground. It is filled with people, systems, and circumstances that will test the limits of what you're willing to tolerate. If you are unwilling to stand firm, if you are too soft to assert your worth, the world will not hesitate to exploit that weakness. People will take as much as you allow, and systems will demand as much as you're willing to give. Standing firm is not about being aggressive, it's about being unyielding in the face of pressure. It's about declaring, this is who I am, and this is what I will not compromise. When you're too soft to do that, you create a space for others to trample on your values, your time, and your purpose. Softness invites exploitation because it signals that you can be bent, reshaped, and manipulated to suit the needs of others. But firmness sets boundaries. It sends a clear message that you value yourself too much to be taken for granted. It tells the world, you can approach me, but only on terms that respect my integrity. Exploitation doesn't always come in the form of malice. Sometimes it looks like overextending yourself for people who refuse to give back. Sometimes it's saying yes to commitments that drain you while giving nothing in return. But make no mistake, every time you allow yourself to be exploited, you lose a piece of your power, a piece of your potential, and a piece of your peace. The key to standing firm is knowing your worth and refusing to settle for less. When you truly understand your value, you realize that no amount of external approval is worth sacrificing your inner strength. And when you project that strength, you not only protect yourself, but also teach others how to treat you with the respect you deserve. Greatness is never birthed in comfort, and it certainly doesn't emerge from compromise. It requires a level of conviction that refuses to bend, even when the winds of discomfort, opposition, or misunderstanding blow fiercely. Conviction is the fuel of purpose, the foundation upon which greatness is built. Without it, you are merely drifting, carried by the opinions and expectations of others. To achieve greatness, you must stand firm in what you believe, even when it costs you something. Conviction is not just about what you say you believe, it's about what you are willing to sacrifice for. It's the ability to look fear, rejection, and uncertainty in the eye and still say, I will not waver. Compromise might feel easier in the moment. It might smooth over tension, avoid conflict, and make you more likable. But every compromise chips away at the vision inside of you. Greatness demands that you protect that vision, that you guard it against the temptation to dilute it for the sake of temporary peace. Standing firm in conviction means understanding that not everyone will agree with you, and that's okay. It means recognizing that discomfort is a necessary part of growth, and criticism is often the price of authenticity. But the alternative, living a life dictated by the preferences of others, is far more costly. Greatness is not for the faint of heart. It's for those who are willing to be misunderstood, willing to endure discomfort, and willing to stand alone if necessary. It's for those who understand that a life of conviction is the only life worth living, because it is a life that remains true to the purpose for which it was created. Seeking the approval of others is one of the most subtle yet destructive traps you can fall into. It masquerades as connection, but in reality, it is bondage. When your decisions are driven by the need to be liked, accepted, or praised, you surrender the power of your own identity. You become a reflection of other people's expectations rather than an expression of your true self. Approval seeking creates a false sense of security. It tells you that as long as people are happy with you, you are safe. But what happens when their opinions shift? What happens when their preferences demand that you compromise your values? The cost of living for approval is that you lose the freedom to be authentic. When you seek approval, you betray yourself bit by bit. You silence your voice, hide your vision, and diminish your potential, all in an attempt to fit into molds that were never designed for you. But fitting in has never been the pathway to fulfillment. In fact, the more you chase approval, the further you drift from the unique purpose you were created to fulfill. True freedom comes when you release the need to be liked and embrace the responsibility to be true to yourself. This doesn't mean you disregard others or act without consideration, but it does mean you prioritize integrity over applause. It means you understand that your worth is not determined by the crowd, but by the clarity of your convictions. The world is full of people who are enslaved to the opinions of others, living half lives because they are afraid to be fully themselves. But greatness demands that you rise above this fear. It demands that you choose truth over popularity, even when the crowd turns away. Because in the end, it is not the approval of others that defines you, it is the courage to stand in the fullness of who you are. Your priorities are the map to your destiny, but that map can quickly become illegible if you're not careful with your choices. Every yes you give out of obligation, guilt, or fear is a silent no to something more valuable. Life demands balance, and every decision you make creates a ripple effect, shaping what gets your energy and attention. Your time and energy are finite. They are the currency of your life, and how you spend them determines the quality of your journey. When you say yes to everything and everyone, you dilute your ability to focus on what truly matters. You cannot pour into every cup and expect your own to remain full. Saying no is not just an act of rejection, it's an act of protection. It is a declaration that your dreams, your vision, and your well-being are worth safeguarding. Yet so often we hesitate to say no because we fear disappointing others or being seen as unkind. But let me ask you this: who is looking out for the priorities you are sacrificing? Who is standing guard over the commitments that truly matter to you? Every misplaced yes steals a piece of your potential. It takes time and energy away from the things that align with your purpose. Over time, this pattern leaves you exhausted, unfulfilled, and wondering why you feel so disconnected from the life you envisioned. To guard your priorities, you must master the courage to disappoint others if necessary. Not everyone will understand your no, and that's okay. Your purpose is not for everyone to understand, it is for you to protect. When you learn to prioritize what matters most, you will find the strength, clarity, and fulfillment that come from living a life aligned with your true calling. Respect is never demanded, it is earned. And it begins with how you carry yourself. People observe your actions, listen to your words, and evaluate how you handle yourself in every situation. When you are firm and clear about your boundaries, you teach others how to treat you. Firmness is not about arrogance or pride, it is about self-respect. It is about showing the world that you value yourself and your purpose enough to protect them. Being firm doesn't mean you have to be harsh or confrontational. It means you communicate your standards with confidence and consistency. It means you are unwavering when it comes to the things that matter most to you. When others see that you are clear about who you are and what you stand for, they will naturally adjust their behavior to match the respect you demand through your actions. People are drawn to clarity because it creates trust. When you are firm, you send a signal that you know who you are and where you are going. This confidence makes others more likely to respect your time, your energy, and your decisions. But when you are inconsistent or too accommodating, you send the opposite signal that your boundaries can be negotiated or ignored. Being firm also protects you from the exhaustion of constantly having to explain or justify yourself. When your firmness becomes a part of your character, people come to understand that there are certain lines you will not cross. They begin to respect you not just because of what you say, but because of how consistently you live out your values. Respect flows naturally to those who respect themselves. It is not about seeking validation or forcing others to agree with you. It is about standing firm in your identity, your purpose, and your principles, regardless of how others respond. When you live with this kind of clarity and conviction, respect becomes inevitable. Firmness is not a display of cruelty, it is the manifestation of clarity. When you are firm in your decisions, you are not pushing others away with harshness, but establishing a clear understanding of who you are, what you stand for, and what you will not tolerate. Firmness is the refusal to bend your values in exchange for comfort, popularity, or convenience. It is not about being rigid or unkind, it's about being unwavering in your commitment to your own integrity. The world tests you at every turn. It will try to pull you in directions that contradict your values, compromise your purpose, and chip away at your character. When you are soft in your convictions, you allow these forces to have their way with you. But when you are firm, you draw a line that others can see and respect. You create an environment where your purpose is prioritized and protected, not just by you, but by the people around you. Firmness is about knowing what you stand for and standing for it consistently, even when it's difficult. It's saying, I will not compromise my principles, my time, or my peace just to make someone else comfortable. And this firmness is not a rejection of others, it is an affirmation of your own self-worth. You are not being cruel to people when you refuse to let them push you into decisions that undermine your integrity. You are protecting both yourself and your relationship with them. The people who truly respect you will understand your boundaries and honor your firmness. They will appreciate your consistency and the strength it takes to maintain it. In contrast, those who try to manipulate or test your boundaries will quickly learn that they cannot move you. This is not cruelty. It is the manifestation of a life that is grounded in purpose and unafraid to stand strong in the face of opposition. Firmness is clarity in action. It says, this is who I am. This is where I stand. This is what I will tolerate, and this is what I will not. When you live with that kind of clarity, you no longer waste your energy on things that don't align with your purpose, and you stop negotiating your worth for fleeting approval. Firmness is a tool of protection, not a weapon of destruction. It is the strength to choose peace over chaos, purpose over distractions, and truth over compromise. Purpose is not something you stumble upon, it is something you define. And when you begin to define it, everything changes. You stop drifting aimlessly through life, hoping that something will give you meaning. You no longer wait for opportunities to find you. You create them because you know exactly why you're here and what you're meant to do. Living with purpose requires strength because it demands that you make decisions based on your vision, not the opinions of others. The world will try to pull you in many directions. There will be distractions, setbacks, and the noise of 1,000 voices telling you who you should be and what you should do. But your purpose has a different core. It speaks to you from within, urging you to stay on course, to remain focused, and to reject anything that does not align with your true mission. Strength comes from having that clarity. When you know your purpose, you no longer need to ask for permission. You no longer need to apologize for who you are or what you want to achieve. You are driven by a deep inner conviction that cannot be shaken by the fleeting opinions or temporary circumstances around you. Purpose brings focus. It cuts through the distractions of life and gives you a laser-like direction. It simplifies your decisions because you are no longer scattered by every opportunity that comes your way. You ask yourself, does this serve my purpose? Does this move me closer to my destiny? And if the answer is no, you have the strength to say no without hesitation, without guilt, and without regret. Purpose also brings resilience. It empowers you to face challenges that would otherwise overwhelm you. When you are clear on your purpose, setbacks become lessons, obstacles become stepping stones, and failures become temporary detours. You see every difficulty as part of the process of growth, not as a reason to quit. Your purpose gives you the inner fortitude to keep going no matter what. Living with purpose is not for the faint of heart. It is for those who are willing to do what is hard, to stay true to their vision, and to push forward in the face of adversity. It requires an unwavering belief that the path you are on is the one meant for you, and that no matter how difficult or lonely that journey might get, it is worth it. The world is full of voices that will try to shape you, pull you in their direction, and tell you who you should be. But the truth is, you were not created to live for the approval of others. You were created with a purpose, a mission that is uniquely yours, and the only approval that matters is the one that comes from being true to that mission. Living for the approval of others traps you in a cycle of constant validation seeking. You live your life based on what people think, always adjusting and compromising to gain their favor, always wondering if you're enough, if you're liked enough, if you're accepted enough. This creates a false sense of identity, a fragile existence based on the shifting opinions of others. And you cannot build a life of substance on a foundation that's unstable. True fulfillment comes not from external validation, but from internal consistency. It comes from knowing who you are, understanding your values, and choosing to live by them regardless of who agrees or disagrees. When you live with this clarity, you don't need the world to validate you because you are already aligned with your own truth. You measure your worth not by the approval of others, but by the conviction in your heart and the actions that flow from it. It's time to stop living to meet the expectations of others. Stop molding yourself to fit into someone else's idea of who you should be. This doesn't mean you disregard relationships or act in ways that are hurtful to others. It means you stop compromising your integrity, your dreams, and your purpose for the sake of fitting in or pleasing people who do not have a clear vision for your life. When you focus on your own purpose, the external noise becomes irrelevant. You stop seeking approval and start creating results. You stop looking for permission and start taking action. You stop asking for validation and start living in your own power. Approval will come naturally when you live authentically. People will respect you not because you've shaped yourself to meet their expectations, but because you have the strength to live according to your own standards. And the greatest approval you will ever receive is the quiet peace that comes from knowing you are walking in the direction you were always meant to go. In a world that constantly demands more from us, the key to living a life of true fulfillment is rooted in strength, clarity, and self-respect. Being firm in your convictions is not about being unkind, it's about protecting the integrity of who you are. Saying no when needed isn't a rejection of others, it's a commitment to your own priorities and purpose. When you stand firm, you teach others how to treat you and create an environment where respect is mutual. Your purpose becomes the guiding light that illuminates your path, and it demands that you live with intention, not by accident. Living for the approval of others only drains you, pulling you further from the truth of who you are. Instead, you must seek validation from your own heart and the conviction that your life has meaning and direction. Every choice you make, every yes or no must come from a place of understanding your worth and what you stand for. Don't let the world exploit your kindness or your time. Firmness and purpose are the pillars that will hold you up when the pressures of life try to bring you down. Living a life rooted in these principles is the only way to create a legacy that lasts and a life that is truly your own.